Hi, my name is Joseph Ally. Welcome to my channel. And today I want to talk about something a bit different. You see, what is possible with our minds? There are two different approaches that people perceive manifesting to be. One is that we ourselves are separate from the rest of the world. And when we imagine something, we are emitting some sort of electromagnetic wave towards another individual and compelling them to take actions that we desire. But then there's the other way, which is far more provable, far more realistic, and you can test it. And with that, we are going to talk about remote viewing. Remote viewing is a skill. It is something that you are capable of learning, something you are capable of doing. It is not merely for the CIA. It's not merely for a spy. This is something that we inherently, as a human being, are capable of doing. And I want to tell you about the story of how I stumbled upon remote viewing, why I stumbled upon remote viewing, and how it relates to manifesting Neville Goddard, and how you can use it to prove your power in this world. Remote viewing is a tool, and it is something you can use to perceive things from a distance, things that are not there. It's a psychic ability, you could say, but really it is not a special gift. It is something anyone can do. Specifically, even Athena, I was explaining it to her for a while and she was skeptical of this ability, and I taught her how to do it. I just gave her a quick instruction and she performed the instruction, and within moments she was remote viewing, and she was shocked. She was like, what is happening? And so this is absolutely true, whether you believe it or not. Like in this case with Athena, it's not that she didn't believe it. She was doubtful and that even she could do it. I am the mystical one out of the two of us. I'm the one that obsesses over mystical experiences. I've been having them for many years. I've had the promise that Neville Goddard talks about. I have projected places. I've had psychic abilities. I've had near-death experiences. I've had answers come in from the ether and perceive themselves as divine imagery. This is all possible with manifesting. And I don't think people talk about it enough. And whether it's because they themselves have not ever proven it to themselves, or they haven't tried it, or they were skeptical about it. And I can tell you, I myself was extremely skeptical about it until I actually tried it. Before we begin, please hit the like button. It does something to the algorithm so that those who wouldn't normally be able to see this video will be able to see it. Hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. It's different now. You've got to actually click it and subscribe to the notifications because YouTube has changed. But if you want to stay informed for systematic, methodical, tested manifesting, I teach how to prove and test manifestation through a systematic method over the last 13 years. I've got a lot of software in development now that can predict how manifesting works. So if you want to stay tuned for all that, hit the subscribe button. But I want to start with jumping into my story about remote viewing. Now, I am someone who has studied physics, computer science, mathematics. That is my background. That is my interest. That is what intrigues and thrills me. And not only that, but manifestation. But you see, in the beginning, I did not believe in manifestation. I did not believe in anything at all like this. I was completely against it. I thought it was nonsense. But what I did believe in was math and science. So when I was in a discrete math class, after physics and all this, discrete math 2, which is a little bit more advanced, they taught how to predict whether or not something could happen or the odds of something to happen. So I started to use the formulas for discrete math in really showing what are the odds of these things happening. In other words, when I would manifest something, when I would write something down and then it would happen, what would be the odds of that occurring? And not only that, but many things happening in a row when I just wrote them down. So suffice it to say, the odds are astronomical. We're talking about lottery winning numbers and beyond. So that was what convinced me that manifesting was real. But beyond that, I knew that the way that it was explained was not the way that it was really happening. You see, there's a common idea that we are emitting an electromagnetic field outward, and that is in some way or another influencing other people to cause them to act in certain ways for us to get our manifestation. And that means that you have to remain in that state in order to get it. But you see, that was not my experience. That was never my experience. From the beginning, I systematically tested manifesting. I tried all of that stuff, and that stuff was ineffective. It would bring some results, but inaccurate results. It wasn't about emotion or feeling, I proved. It was really just about entering into that state for the time being and then letting it go. Through the years, after proving test after test after test, I came upon this book by this guy's name is Russell Targ, and it's called, I think it was Limitless Mind. I've read many of his books at this point, but in this book, I really resonated with him. He's a laser physicist, actually, and he broke down just exactly what I thought. Now, if you read the Bible, right, it says that we are the great I am. We are God. We are the God of Scripture. But the word, one of the words for God is plural. It's Elohim, and that's a plural word. And that means all of us are each a God. That doesn't mean this is just my world and you're all in it. It means this is all of our reality. And we are all God equally. We're not less of a God. I'm not split up and have less power than you or combined necessarily. We'll do it better than I would do alone. But this is an important concept because we're all connected through a field. There is a field. That field is called God or consciousness or the great I am. And our minds are an interface for that consciousness, for that field. So in other words, the mind is not the God that is taught in many channels from what I hear nowadays. People come to me and they say, oh, me, myself, I'm God, everyone else is a puppet. Me, myself, am God, and everyone else is listening to me, and they're just in my world, and we each have our own reality. But this is not what is true. This is not what is explained. This is not what is taught in Scripture and a lot of other ancient texts, and it's also not what's provable. And in this book, Limitless Mind, Targ describes a very, very exact process, or he explains what is going on, and he describes what I knew to be true because of physics, and it's that the moment, if it were an electromagnetic field leaving our minds and then our brain, and then emitting out and casting, some sort of field outward and then therefore influencing people, the problem with that is that the moment the field or the beam or whatnot, the laser, so to speak, leaves our mind, it is nearly exponentially dispersed and less focused. This is just physics. But what's amazing is you can prove through testing that when you manifest something, there are times when I have written a thing down and before I finish the sentence on the piece of paper, someone on the opposite side of the world in Australia presents to me my manifestation, which means there's actually no separation. There's no distance between me and other people, right? Or me or you, right? We're all connected to the same ocean. And because we're in this ocean, there's actually no space between us, you see? And so I'm reading Targ's book and he talks about remote viewing. And he says, because the fact that we're not emitting something, we are in a great field of consciousness. This is talked about in ancient Scripture. If you read back on the Hebrew, this is talked about, the actual Hebrew and Gematria, and Kabbalah, and this is also what's talked about in Hindu scriptures, right? It's the same exact thing. And it's not only that, but we can prove this through manifesting with one example I just gave. But in my channel, I talk about tons of different ways to prove this is true and how to test it systematically. But in this case, what Targ says is if you just command yourself to perceive something, your consciousness will receive that information. Or in other words, because we're not separated from anything in the entire universe, we're all one field called consciousness, awareness, God, I am, then that means all of everything is within you. And so therefore, if you quiet your mind, relax, close your eyes, and command to see a thing, a person, a place, or etc., you will actually be met with that thing. Now, theoretically reading this, it aligned with my understanding of how manifesting works through testing it, you see, but I had never done this before. So without telling anyone, so I would not make a fool of myself, I lay down on my bed and just made a subtle command that I see my Father's house. And I just waited. Now, this was the instructions in the book. He said, just do it and wait. And so that's precisely what I did. I just gave the command and I waited. Now, I did not, what he says is do not allow your mind to start imagining. Do not try to imagine a thing. Do not will it. Do not force nothing. It is a waiting. It's a command that you gave and then you're waiting for a response. Make sure you keep your mind open so that it can actually come, right? Allow a cue to form per se. Allow yourself to wait and it'll appear within the mind. But within a few moments, once I closed my eyes, there was a moment of silence and I was just waiting. And then suddenly what appeared to be some sort of particles, energized particles, suddenly began to come together, and it literally formed my father's house. And I can still see it so clear to this day. It was coming from the top. My father has a 3-story house in Pennsylvania in the mountains. And I remember just immediately, it was at the same time I was being shot forward, almost like I was coming from outer space. And at the same time, there was some sort of particles that were energized that were coming together to form this house perfectly. This was not imagination. This was something that was vivid. It was there, and it was right before my eyes. Now, here's the thing. I was kind of freaking out. So I opened my eyes, and then I closed my eyes again, and it was still there. It was waiting for me to close my eyes again. And simultaneously, I felt a tingle burn, not painful, but a burning in my third eye. Now, I knew it was real. I knew that was it. And when I spoke with my father, I asked him the arrangement of the cars outside, and that was precisely what I was witnessing. I was witnessing, because I was in California, I was in San Diego, he was in Pennsylvania. That's like 2,000 miles away, more than that. And it was shocking, it was utterly shocking. And that was the first experience I had with remote viewing, but I wasn't really convinced. I mean, it was amazing, and I knew it was a mystical experience. I didn't know precisely what I was, I did what he said, and exactly what he said happened. But then I started to experiment with it again. I started to ask direct questions with the same intention. I said, I wrote something down. I said, subconscious, why was it so easy for me to know exactly how manifesting works? And then I laid on the bed and closed my eyes. And suddenly I felt a strong burning over here behind the skull in the brain. Tingly burning. It was kind of uncomfortable, to be completely honest with you. And I was tired at the time. And that's always the best way I find that it works for the full experience visions to occur where you're actually witnessing this thing. And in doing this, all of a sudden, I was what appeared to be shot through space. It looked like there were stars whizzing past me, and my forehead behind it was burning stronger than it was the time when I saw my father's house. And what happened was I, again, opened my eyes because I'm thinking, am I seeing this? What's happening? And then closing it, I was still projected through space. And I went through some tunnel. There was a tunnel that was there. And I went through one side, and I wound up watching this planet with 2 moons rotating around it. And then I went through another tunnel, and there was a planet with 2 moons rotating around it. And that happened one more time, and then it broke. The burning faded. I laid on my bed. I got up. I said, what in God's name? I wrote it down. I drew pictures of it. Now, this was, again, years ago. What transpired after that, it wasn't a few months later. I didn't know, first of all, I didn't know what it was. I still have my photos of it in my journals over here, but I didn't know what it was initially. But what happened was I ended up months later searching up a term while I was searching some stuff about manifesting, and I typed in quantum entanglement because I thought maybe there was some correlation between this, and I kid you not, I go to images. It was precisely what I witnessed. Now, precisely, but in animated, real, vivid form. So in one way or another, from that point on, it's never been clearer to me that something, quantum entanglement had to do with manifesting. Now, to this day, I don't precisely know all that's involved. I do know a lot more about quantum physics at this point, but it's the proof that you can get direct answers to questions that you cannot even receive in a textbook. Now, this is something I've taken to my advantage over latter years. I have done dozens of remote viewing experiences to the point where I have been places, I have seen people, I have connected to people or beings and followed them around wherever they were. You name a place, you wait, and it appears. Now, what's interesting about this is like full-blown remote viewing, but this isn't even what is taught in these books. And I had no idea. When I would wait to go to bed for this to happen, the experiences would be phenomenal, powerful, vivid. Sometimes it would be, it was almost like there were different types of remote viewing. And sometimes it would be like a great big window I was behind that would be slightly smudged that I was looking through. And I'm like, is that my third eye is blocked or something? It's hard to even know because there's no one that really talks about this stuff. But what I can say is I would stake my life on the fact that you can also do this, because there was a time not long ago when I was talking to Athena Raven about this. And if you don't know who she is, go to her channel. That's my girlfriend. She's amazing. And I was going on and on about remote viewing, and she was like, you're talking about this so much, and I was like, just try, please, just try, because she didn't even know what to make of it. And I told her, she goes, well, I need to have something verifiable. And I instructed her to do the same thing I did. I said, listen, I said, just while you're on the couch right here, just tell your subconscious to go view a place. And she, okay. I said, just do it now. I didn't even let her think about it. Just do it. So in her mind, she allegedly did it. And then we just moved on. And then later, about an hour later, when we went to bed, she closed her eyes, and all of a sudden, boom, she's whizzing through space. And she didn't forewarn her what really, because the thing of shooting through space doesn't happen every time. It happens sometimes, but not every time. And with her, she freaked out and said, because she was like half asleep when this was happening to her, and she jolted out of it and said, Joe, what's happening to me? I'm seeing stars shooting. And I said, oh my God, it's happening to you. But she couldn't stick with it, right? But this is common. If you do get anxious, you will jolt out of it. If you do get afraid, you will jolt out of it. If you try to focus or fixate your eyes, you'll probably jolt out of it. The key is to wait and watch. So I'll break it down like this. There's so many ways to do it, right? There are other ways where it's more structured and you're doing it while you're wide awake and you're sitting down and you're closing your eyes in a meditative state. And that way, when I have done it, and really normally small glimpses of images appear and materialize. And it's not the same as the full vivid experience. But nevertheless, this is something that you can systemize. And the system is like this, right? Now, Neville talks about this himself as well. You see, Neville has done this before. He's projected himself places. He's perceived himself certain places, but he doesn't have the words remote viewing to call it that. But this is all verifiable. You can look this up. This is not a joke. This is not a game. You can do it, right? So the key is like this. Again, I'll be very clear. It's more simple than you think that it is, and it might disturb you at how simple it is, because you'll ask yourself, why hasn't this happened to me before? The key is to get familiar with the commands on your subconscious mind. I mean that it took me so many years to trust that my subconscious mind was listening to me. And this is with all things. This is with visualization and manifesting. This is, intentions, scripting, demanding, inner conversations, decrees. Your subconscious mind is always listening. It's waiting for a command. So you merely tell yourself, like for me, I will close my eyes for a few moments, right? Just try to relax, take some deep breaths. And then I will say, I remote view my father's house. Really, I said, I see my father's house, but with the intention of remote viewing, and it appeared. But if you want to be specific, where you have no mistakes, there's no ambiguity, your subconscious mind knows exactly what you're doing, you say the specific phrase like I remote viewed this, that, or the third. And you can choose something that can be validated, verified, whatever it is, and you speak those words into your mind, and then you wait. Now, if you want the full-blown experience, which I usually go for because it's shocking and amazing and it's the coolest thing in the world, what I do is I keep a small portion of my attention fixed on the waiting. That means it's like a small beam of focus that I'm just waiting for this thing. And then that way I can't fall asleep, my mind isn't wandering, and I'm just waiting. Eventually, what will happen is if I focus on my breathing and I'm just breathing, relaxing, and keeping this little beam of thought open, then essentially what existed in my consciousness will kind of come in black. And then suddenly, sometimes I'll get a metallic taste in my mouth. And then sometimes I'll feel a burning here, and then it will just materialize. You will witness it. The key is to just wait. And if you're too awake, it will not work. You have to be relaxed. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be sleepy, but it means your focus must be away from the external and on the internal, on the consciousness, on being relaxed. You are not supposed to be thinking and looking and imagining at all. There's nothing at all. To be really clear, Nothing you're supposed to be doing except intending and waiting. It's your subconscious that has an infinite intelligence connected to God, to consciousness, to the great I am, to all of reality, that knows exactly what you're demanding, and it will bring it forth into your consciousness. I need you to provide, give me the information when you try this and provide it in the comments, because I would love to be a part of anyone else having an experience of remote viewing. Now, I can go through and give you the more systematic methodology of how to get exact information and do it like the CIA did, but this is more grand. This is more powerful. This is more where you will not be doubtful. There's no doubt where you'll say, was it just imagining? How do I know it's just imagining? You will know that it is not imagining. This is a powerful experience. Something that grips you and appears without any function of mind. In fact, you can even imagine or think while it's happening. It doesn't matter. It appears before you. It's a completely separate faculty. Your subconscious is bringing you this thing. So please try this thing. And if you want more information on mystical experiences, I've had so many. I've had many psychic experiences. I know exactly what to do. I've systematically tested this to a T. Now, I myself, I'm not going to say that it works every single time for me, because sometimes I cannot get relaxed. Sometimes I fall asleep and I just can care less. I really want to remote view, but I want to sleep more. Or sometimes I'm anxious or upset or stressed out, and therefore I cannot seem to get myself to a place where I'm relaxed. But some tips for relaxing are breathing, literally oxygen. I will hold my breath. I take the deepest breath as humanly possible with my stomach, and then hold it as long as I can. That, no matter what hits you with relaxation, and eventually you keep doing that no matter what you do, even if you're awake, you will find that consciousness will come in. Sometimes you'll get the taste, sometimes you will feel the feeling, and it will appear even if you are not really asleep. But relaxation is the key. Bringing it within is a key, and the intention is a key. So please, again, try this. You don't even need to be near asleep, right? As long as you have a little bit of time, say a half hour, give it a little bit more if you have a monkey mind, right? And relax, do this, and come back. I would love to get the results, and I want to know if you guys enjoy this sort of thing, because I have so much of it. I just don't share it as much because I know everyone wants to just know how to manifest. So thanks for letting me share this. I really appreciate you letting me get this off my chest. It's something that I really would love to connect with you guys on. We talk about this on my private, on the Discord on my Thursdays. So if you're interested in this sort of stuff, if you want to really get your psychic stuff honed, if you want to prove that it's real, if you're questioning it, I questioned it. I didn't believe in a damn thing until I started doing it. And then the sky is the limit. So listen, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. If this was interesting to you, please subscribe if you watch regularly. YouTube has changed things now. You could not even realize that you're not subscribed to me watching my videos all the time. So do that, and I'll catch you on the flip side. See ya.